The domain of a function contains all of the x values of the function, and the range is all the y values. Now, given the example of a linear line or a linear function, the domain, meaning all the x values, is going to be every single tick mark all along here. And it goes on forever because of the arrows, so we say all real numbers. This double R is the symbol for all real numbers, or I write it and expect you to write it in interval notation, which says negative infinity all the way to positive infinity with parentheses. There's always parentheses around domain because you can never include negative. It goes on and on forever. I'm sorry, infinity. You can never include infinity. All right, the range, all the y values. Every single y value gets hit again because there's arrows on both sides. So my range, you could write all real numbers, or the same thing, negative infinity to infinity with parentheses because you can't include infinity. All right, let's look at a different example. Okay, in this example, there actually is a farmost left point. So if each of these tick marks were 1, our domain would be the farmost left point, which is at -3, okay, because domain is left and right. So -3 all the way to, well, again, there's an arrow on this right side, so also to infinity. Now, there we go. Now, my infinity symbol, again, same rule. Infinity is always a parenthesis, but 3, since it's a closed circle here, it's a bracket. All right, now my domain is going to be a little bit different. I'm sorry, my range is going to be a little bit different. Now you have to think up and down. Okay, my lowest point is right here, -1. Okay, so we go -1, and again, it's a closed circle, so we include -1 with a bracket all the way to, well, it's an arrow, so to infinity with a parenthesis. Okay, now let's look at this problem, at this function. Alright, so my domain for this one is, my farmost left point is going to be 2, right here, -2. -2, 2, now we go all the way over, my farmost right point is +2. Now the difference is that at -2 there's an open circle, which means it's a parenthesis, and at +2 it's a closed circle, so we have a bracket. Alright, so my range is going to be similar. My range, the lowest point is down here at -1, but again, it's a parenthesis because it's an open circle right here going all the way across to -1. And my highest point, well, this is actually a pretty bad sketch, so let's say this is my highest point right here. It looks and appears higher than that dot, so we're going to say that it's 1.5 for this sake. And it touches this point right here. This is the highest point, and it hits it, it touches it, so it's a bracket. I will make sure that the graphs that you have in class are more legible. Now let's do one more example of one of the functions that we did in class. Let's see if you can name this function to yourself. Okay, so bear with me through my sketches, but this one, see if you can name it. We talked about it briefly in class, and then we're going to do the domain and we're going to do the range. Okay, this is a quartic function, which we have a highest degree of 4, okay? Alright, so my domain, I go to the farmost left point first. Well, it's an arrow over here, so that's -infinity. Farmost right point, again, an arrow to +infinity, and then infinities always have parentheses. Alright, my lowest value is down here at -2. Now there's 2, it hits -2 twice, but it doesn't matter. You're just trying to describe the lowest point possible. So -2, and it touches it, so it's a bracket. Again, these arrows are going up forever, so it's to +infinity. We're going to do much more practice with this in class.